Hey everybody, Cody Hornaday here, Channel Technical Agronomist for the Southern Indiana and Kentucky territory. I want to do something this winter where I kind of weekly put out some videos about just random agronomy topics, whatever. Maybe we get some suggestions from those that watch them or anything else like that. I didn't want them to be real long, just kind of some quick hitters, 10, 15 minutes tops. And so the first topic that I chose was pre-emergence herbicide options in soybeans. And I just kind of wanted to go over a few of the brief things that I think about when I design a herbicide recommendation program for soybeans, especially when it comes to the pre-emergence piece. Obviously, another video may very well be post-emergence herbicide options in soybeans, but I wanted to cover pre-emergence first, as I know that's kind of a hot topic during the prepay window here. So anyway, I want to share my screen with you. I've got a little presentation built for this just so you guys can kind of follow along. So give me a second to get my screen shared. Okay. Looks like my screen is shared. So I'm going to start the presentation and we're going to jump into it. So, understanding soybean pre-emergence herbicide options. What do I want to talk about? First, for those of you that have never listened into a video that I've made before, I want to talk a little bit about briefly, as far as who I am and kind of my background. And then we're going to talk about why pre-emergence herbicide options are so important, and then what trait platform does this apply to, and then kind of go through the general options that are out there, and then probably dive in a little bit more specifically about what programs might be best for you. And then at the end, I'm going to go over how to go about submitting questions, comments, suggestions, things like that. So without further ado, for those of you that don't know me, I am the technical agronomist for Channel for the Southern Indiana and Kentucky area. And I've got a few pictures up here that kind of just go over what my life's all about and why I do what I do. So, I did start at Vincennes University, went through the transfer program to go up to Purdue. That's where I finished my bachelor's degree and then also got my master's degree. I do have, I guess you would consider it maybe a specialty in soil fertility, as my master's research was in starter fertilizer. So once I finished there, I actually spent about 3 years in ag retail doing very similar things that I'm doing currently, just for the ag retail side. And that was for a company here in Southwest Indiana. And after that, I did jump ship and started with Bayer Crop Science on the Channel brand team. So most of the recommendations that I talk about here in this video are going to be based on my experiences in the Southern Indiana, Kentucky market. I can't guarantee that those apply to everywhere, to whoever may be watching this video. But anyway, you can kind of see here, I've got a little boy who is, he's not quite 2. He's actually home today from the babysitter, so I wouldn't guarantee you that you won't hear from him here at any point. And then I've also got basically a 1-month-old now. So we are very fresh into the 2-kid household side of things. So we're playing some man-to-man defense, and days like this get a little tough when he can't go to the sitter. So anyway, some things that I like to do is we farm. My family's got a small farm, and you can see a few pictures of that. We like to do about anything outdoors. So we go jeeping, boating, all those types of things. One of the pictures off to the left there is my dog. He's about 130-pound teddy bear for most, for lack of a better description, at least to me anyway. But yeah, and then up in the top right hand corner, I know that picture is kind of hard to see, but I am actually a drummer. So I guess fun fact about me, I played the drums for several years now, probably I think since 5th grade. So anyway, that's just a little bit about me. One thing that I did want to bring up is that I'm not a chemistry expert. Bayer has a lot of people on their team that are probably better suited to make this video. I just wanted to kind of provide this as some general training and put in place some general guidelines on what I've personally seen work. So there's 100 ways to skin this as far as what programs to build and things like that. But I just wanted to bring to you some of the things that I've seen work. And as always, follow and read all label and application requirements. So let's jump in. So why is it important? I think everybody has a good handle on this, but pre-emergence weed control. So there's really two ways we can kill weeds. You can kill weeds that are already up, or you can keep them from coming up. Those are the two main distinctions that I'm probably going to keep coming back to throughout this recording in this video. So the main thing we want to think about when we think about pre-emergence is we need to start clean and then stay clean. So you've got two different pieces to that puzzle, in my opinion. You've got the burn down piece, so that's killing anything that's up, and then you've got the residual piece, so that's the piece that's keeping anything from coming up. So, and I think why this is so important is a great example. This is an image from Michigan State, and you just see that we've got a lot of weed resistance. In this particular case, we're talking about water hemp, and that's going to be one of the main weeds I talk about because it is resistant to so many things. But we need to manage our weed control options so that we are utilizing everything based off an effective site of action standpoint. So when we make these weed control herbicide recommendations, we want to go back to, okay, well, what are our weed targets? And we want to make sure that whatever herbicides we're using will be effective against those weeds. So what trait platform does this apply to? I bring this up just because we offer both. So Channel, the brand, offers both XtendFlex and Enlist beans, and we are today only talking about pre-emergence herbicide options. So in general, the things that I talk about will apply to any trait platform, whether that be XtendFlex, E3, or even conventional beans. Right? We're talking about pre-emergence only. Now, the trait platform can have an impact in regards to which burn down chemistries you use, maybe some plant back restrictions, what post chemistries can then be utilized after emergence, of course. So we'll talk about that in another video, but for this one, we're going to focus on pre-emergence. So that's just a good example there on the left side of the screen is in regards to kind of when different trait platforms were launched. So options. What options do we have? Well, there's a bunch of them. When we think about pre-emergence, that is a different story when we talk about post-emergence. But pre-emergence, we do have several options, and it's good to utilize as many as we can. And so, you think about, you've got glyphosate, you've got dicamba and 2,4-D. Those are both group 4s. I don't see a lot of this, but certainly some folks may be using some glufosinate if the weather's warm enough and things would work well enough for that chemistry. You got group 15s, group 14s, group 5, and group 2s. Those are the most common. I'm certain there are others out there, and there may be other people utilizing them that are watching this video, but these are what I would consider the most common. So questions to think about in regards to what options do I want in my pre-emergence chemistry recommendations. Number one is, how many total applications do you plan on making all season long? So are we splitting this out where we've got one pre and then one post, or are we doing maybe two pre's and one post? Or there's different ways to do this. So that'd be one thing to think about. The second one is tillage. Are we using tillage as an actual weed control option, or are we just using tillage to kind of make a little bit better seed bed, but we're probably not truly getting a good kill on our weeds? One example of that might be some vertical tillage. It's a very effective tool, but in my experience, you're not going to get good weed control with that. So, and then one more question would be, what weeds are we looking to control? So, in our area, I know water hemp would be a main one. Other things like mare's tail and potentially some palmer amaranth, depending on where you're at. So those are some of the heavy hitters that we think about controlling. The last thing I want to mention is, again, there are many ways to design this, and the examples I give and the things I discuss are just different ways of looking at it. They are not an end-all, be-all by any stretch of the imagination. So before I jump in, I did want to bring this up when we talk about effective modes of action. This is just water hemp, as an example, throughout the Midwest has been found to be resistant to all of these different chemistries. Your ALSs with your group 2s, you've got your group 4. Now, so far, that is just 2,4-D that they have been found to be resistant to. I don't know of any dicamba, but it's still group 4 chemistry. And then the group 5 is not, to my knowledge at least, metribuzin it's more related to the atrazine side of things, but regardless, still important to make note of. And then group 9 is your glyphosate, so I think we're all very familiar with that. Group 14s would be your PPOs, and then group 27s is kind of your HPPD inhibitor. So there's a lot of resistance out there to water hemp, and that's just one example of a weed that we've got to really consider. Hey, how many effective sites of action do we have when we're going to control that weed? So when you go to design a program that fits your needs, let's say you are a burn down with tillage type of grower, make sure you're truly killing the weeds. So I kind of brought that up a little bit ago. Vertical tillage is a great option. It does great for preparing a seed bed. But in my general experience, unless you're doing some aggressive vertical tillage, you're probably not going to get real good weed control out of it. When we think about controlling those winter annuals like henbit, purple dead nettle, chickweed, bluegrass, those types of things, usually you've got to have a little bit more tillage to knock those down and actually kill them. So just be mindful of that when you go to make your herbicide pass after you've got your tillage done. You may need to adjust some things if there are some weeds still living. But if you have killed all the emerged weeds and you're getting back on top of this before something's coming up, again, you can utilize a group 14 and a group 15. Those are both good herbicide options. Some group 14s will provide you with some burn down power. So that's something to keep in mind. And then group 15s are going to be one of your best options for controlling things like water hemp and small seeded broadleaf. So those two definitely need to be in there. You could also throw in a group 2 or maybe even a group 5, as I've got, add in metribuzin when you have heavier weed pressure. Those all keep weeds from coming up. Okay, and that's going to be the name of the game. If you've got a clean seed bed, we want to start clean and stay clean. So if tillage has got it clean, those are your options to help it stay clean. So maybe we're working on no-till soybeans here. I think that's great, but that eliminates the death of the weeds due to tillage. So we've got to go a different direction. We're going to use chemistry to do that, and we've got a lot of good options. One of the probably most utilized two chemistries for burn down would be glyphosate, your Roundups, and then a group 4. So that could be dicamba or 2,4-D. The dicamba is going to give you that burn down activity and also a bit of residual activity, whereas the 2,4-D probably not going to get as much residual, but will still give you the burn down. So that's something to think about. I've got Liberty up here again. That time of the year, that early spring time frame, if you're just getting out there to try to kill the weeds so you can get a better, drier seed bed later on, it might be a little bit cool for Liberty to be effective, so you might just keep that in mind. Residual options, if by chance you are doing everything in one shot, you can certainly throw in a group 14, a group 15, and a group 2, and then also adding in metribuzin in higher weed control situations. So that's that part of it. The residual side of it is going to look very similar to if you were using tillage to clean everything up. So you've got to realize this is kind of a piece-to-piece puzzle, I guess, if you will. So here's just an example of a early season burn down with another pass planned pre-emergence. Okay, so this is just a pass to kill what's out there basically, and maybe provide a little bit of residual depending on what chemistries you use. You'd use Roundup, 32 ounces, and then 16 ounces of a product like Sterling Blue. That's a generic dicamba. So you're going to have a group 9 and a group 4 in with that pass. The dicamba will give you a little bit of residual control, not a lot, but it will give you some. Actually, if you refer back to this page, this is an interesting picture I took on our own farm where we had 51 days after application of a quart of glyphosate and a pint of dicamba. And you see outside of some bluegrass, still cleaner than I expected it to be. We had a very wet, cool spring, and so, that residual activity lasted a little longer than expected. But anyway, you could swap out 2,4-D for the dicamba, but those are Roundup plus a group 4 is going to be an excellent choice here. Obviously, there are additional adjuvants necessary, so please discuss that with your chemical providers, whether that be an AMS or a water conditioning agent. There's several, so certainly talk about that with your chemical provider. Here's a good example of maybe a one-pass pre-emergence program. So you want some burn down plus your residual activity all in the same tank. Use Authority XL. That's going to have a group 2 and a group 14. So you're going to get a little bit of knockdown power out of that sulfentrazone, but you're also going to get some residual activity from it as well. Throw in a group 15 like maybe Warrant. That's going to be a good option to help with the residual control. Throw in, again, it could be XtendiMax, could be Enlist 1, whatever you need it to be based on your trait platform to provide some more knockdown power. And again, might get some residual activity if you're utilizing the dicamba side. And then throw in some Roundup as well to ensure you get some good grass control and winter annual control with it. Another thing to add here would be throwing in some dimetric or metribuzin. There's a bunch of different versions of that if you've got weed pressure that warrants it. So I've got a few notes here in regards to you can swap some things out there. You could definitely swap out Authority XL with a lot of other products. Things like Valor and maybe a Residual Pro with Sharpen or Verdict, whatever. There's a lot of ways to blend this, so don't just think this is the only route to go. There's a lot of ways to make that happen. So again, the same thing, additional adjuvants would be necessary. So just to kind of wrap things up, the goal here is to kill any weeds that are currently emerged. That's your burn down piece. And then utilize residual chemistries to ensure no weeds emerge before our post-emergence application. So we talk about overlapping residuals, and that's what it means. We want to put something on pre-emerge that's going to keep weeds from coming up all the way to the time we can get in there with our post-emergence application to put another layer of residual down to keep those weeds from coming up. That is the goal here, is to keep them from coming up. Starting clean so then we can stay clean later, okay? In my opinion, these are must-haves. So if you're just shooting for a burn down, a group 9, and then a group 4, that's going to be two of the best chemistries for just a burn down. Okay. Now, if you're wanting some residual power, throw in some group 15, group 14, and you could also add in a group 5 or a group 2 to kind of layer in some more residuals. I do mention here in this slide that you can use some group 14s as a burn down application. Things like Sharpen, Warren Ultra, some of those products do have some burn down activity with the residual. So lots of options, but in my opinion, these are requirements to have a good pre-emergence herbicide program. So you need a group 15 for sure. That chemistry is one of the best there is for controlling small seeded broadleaves like water hemp. So I want to leave you with a quote. The easiest weed to kill is one that doesn't come up. And I know that is not, that's an odd way of looking at things since the Roundup era started. We could go out and we could kill anything that was up and it wasn't a problem. But now we are developing so much resistance across the entire Midwest that we need to start thinking about, hey, you've got to make sure you don't let these weeds come up, because once a weed has come up, your options to control it in soybeans are limited. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more in another video. So making sure you're leading heavy with a good residual program pre-emerge is crucial. So that's a quick hitter on pre-emergence options in soybeans. If you guys have got questions, comments, or suggestions for additional videos, please reach out to your local seedsman or post it in the comments on this YouTube video. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this content or look forward to more, please subscribe and share it as well. So thank you. I really appreciate it.